What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What's going on, people? Who we got up in here? Who all gonna be there? Who out there right now? Oh wait, what? Oh, that's so random. Okay. Oh, you guys don't even hear all this. That's okay. Who we got up in here? We got five, six people up in here, all on YouTube. Appreciate you. Dragnet, happy to see you again. Gothic Chick, happy to see you too. Um, where's this last window? No, that one stays open. That one is fine. This could close. It's the craziest thing. You guys can't hear it, but out of nowhere, all my tabs started playing all at the same time. Oh, there it is. Done. Okay. Whew, that was wild. All right. Who else we got up in here? Bit late today, man. I know, right? I know. I have no good excuse. Oh, let's see. Let's get me some extra lighting. Make sure I look nice and beautified. Who else we got up in here? Catalyst, always happy to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming through on this Monday. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Debbie Abby, Bo Bebby, always happy to see you and sing that song. Thank you so much for coming through. Gothic Chick, like I said, happy Monday. Hi, everybody. We starting we back. We back. We back. We back. This week, man, yo, you see, I didn't change the whole thing. We don't went from Monday night movies to Severance season 2, episode 6 recaps, and everything changed. Everything changed. I finally, as you guys remember from last week, I finally caught up on Severance. Severance season 1, oof. Severance season 2. It's like that big shift that I love to see in shows when they spend a lot of time, maybe painfully, putting pieces on the board. Just setting all the pieces on the board. And then season 2, now they starting to play the game. Now we moving stuff around. Now we sitting here pulling out the trick moves, and I am here for it. Severance season 2 really started to do their thing when it comes to faster pacing. One of the best things that I love with a television show, especially like one of these drama shows that's almost an hour long, is when we can see a clear difference in position or placement on the board with the characters than when the episode started. Penguin was masterful at it. It was really good at just moving characters across the board and making sure that their circumstances changed by the time you reach the end of the episode. From suffers from it because there's a lot of episodes where people don't move as far as you'd like. And then Severance was the same thing. There was definitely progression, but it would take them so long. And it's like that pawn finally became a queen, and now we playing the game. So Severance, we definitely going to talk about some Severance tonight. Had a whole bunch of stuff we're going to talk about tonight. And of course, as per usual, because I have way too many tabs open. Um, where's my notes? Where are my notes? Where did they go? Did I close them? I must have closed them. All right, let's just reopen them. I'm sitting here looking at what house I was picked in the Harry Potter houses. Apparently, there's a whole app that shows you what house you would be picked at just by filling out a survey. I did it with the blurs. I never revealed what house I got picked or placed into. And I've got the tab open. I'm supposed to show it with the blurs. Maybe we'll do it this Saturday. See what house I'm assigned to in the Harry Potter verse. It's a real thing happening. But yeah, let's see who else we got up in here. Markeisha, happy to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming through. Always happy to have you there. Um, let's see. Unfortunately, you need to develop characters before you can learn their stories. Unfortunately, for most people, don't like the first few episodes because they have to set up the characters. I agree, they do, but I always like it when they set them up faster. You could do it, just be faster. You know, um, Dark Matter was really cool at setting up characters quickly. We got into things at a much faster pace and still appreciate it. So everybody can choose. Everybody's got their preference for what they like, though. I get into conversations with E-Man about it, about whether he's a journey person or a destination person. I could go. I like both types of stories, but this one was a little bit rougher for me. But yeah, what else we got going on tonight? Of course, I'm going to touch on some movie news. I'm definitely going to touch on some movie news. We could talk about Milchick playing Kang. I didn't have that on the list, but give me a bit. And we could definitely, because I do have some Marvel things to talk about. But we could definitely get into all of that. So I think we're about ready. Let's start getting this thing going. Um, where's my setup for this? Right? Yeah. So let's get into the first bit of news I did want to touch on. Um, yeah, DC movies, all the DC movies that are in development. So oh, I didn't share yet. There we go. There we go. So, oh, that didn't, I'm covering up the news. Let me change my layout, y'all. I definitely want you all to be able to read this with me. So I'm going to change my layout a bit. There we go. So, interesting news. I'm a big comic book fan. I almost never talk about DC stuff because honestly, DC ain't put nothing out in a while. Last thing I really got to get on them about was like the Flash. I didn't see Aquaman 2. I haven't been able to talk DC in a while, but I love DC characters. The Flash is up there with Batman as one of my favorite DC characters. So I'm really excited to see what DC might have in store under the stewardship and leadership of James Gunn. Um, so now that we're 2 years removed from the time that they announced that they were going to be rebooting the DC universe, we're finally getting some information as to where things stand today. Now, initially, when James Gunn came out, he had a whole slate of movies. Gods and Monsters is the first chapter that he called it. And we got everything announced from a Batman movie to a Superman movie to a Lanterns TV show. And some of this stuff is actually now entering production or heading towards release. We've already seen the release of Creature Commandos, which I loved. I didn't think I was going to love it, but I walked out of that series with a grin on my face. And we're getting a lot closer to the release of the Superman movie, directed and written by James Gunn himself. Um, I I'm trying I'm excited for it. I am, but I'm also nervous for it because honestly, it feels like the pendulum swings pretty far with the projects that I like of James Gunn. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see that what the new DC universe is going to look like. And I think we all are too. So let's take a look at what they're saying is in production right now. So of course, we all know those projects that I named. We know about season 2 of Peacekeeper, which is on its way to release as well. But throughout the time since the initial announcement, we've also saw that the space fantasy Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is halfway through production. Now, this is the project that they announced with Millie Alcock taking on the lead as Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, and it's going to be based off of the comic book series written by Tom King. Now, I read the comic book series. I'm a huge Tom King fan. I think, you know, I wish he knew me personally or he knew me as well as I think I know him, um, because I've been seeing him at comic conventions since he first got on the scene or really made a name for himself when he started doing Batman. But I've been a huge fan of his style of writing. It's always a lot grimmer than most. I'm a huge fan of his perspective on writing because he's not just a tried and true comic book writer that came up the traditional way. He is a former, I want to say he's a former CIA operative, right? I think he used to work for the CIA and then somehow transitioned into comic book writing. And yeah, he was a CIA spy turned comic book writer, right? So he used to, work on intelligence for the United States government. And then he transitioned that into writing about Batman. So you just can imagine the excitement I had as a comic book writer to hear, wow, a former CIA spy is going to be writing tales about the Dark Knight in a modern setting. Like it was the excitement was palpable. It was really cool. And then he got to play with more characters as DC started to have more trust with him, and he was able to give us a whole series of Supergirl as she traversed one side of the universe to the other in the series Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. So I'm excited to see what Millie Alcock can bring to that role under with a story that's based off of Tom King's writing. I have a feeling that they're going to kind of stay in the same orbit of the comic that it was based on. I expect them to take some liberties, but I think it's going to stay within that same framework, which I think will translate to a really cool movie. Um, we've also got the Lanterns TV series, right? That one with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. That's in production now. Yeah, they just started shooting it last week. So this one is actually in production, which is really cool. We got Aaron Pierre in there with Chandler Riggs, and potentially uh, Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, and whatever other lanterns they bring into it, right? We still have Kyle Rayner. We have a whole bunch more humans. We'll see what they actually want to present in that series. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see the classic uh, Green Lantern characters like Kilowog and Salak, Ganthet, and so many more. I'm really excited to see Sinestro, oh my gosh, and other colored lanterns. If we get into the Spectrum Corps War, I promise you, you're going to wonder how Superman and Batman are the top characters and they got a Green Lantern sitting on the bench. It's incredible the stories that they're sitting on with these characters. Um, we see that Clayface is getting a movie. James Gunn announced a while ago that Clayface, which is a Batman villain, not only has a script, but now it's finally found its director. It's going to start shooting this summer. So Clayface is coming sooner than some of the other projects that got announced. Like they announced Themyscira, a HBO series in the world of Wonder Woman, but without Wonder Woman. Um, that was announced first. This is in production first. So it's fluid how they announce things, but they're keeping themselves open to the ideas that people pitch them and figuring out how to make it work. I wonder if they're going to follow the same structure as Marvel is trying to do, build-ups to teen films and things like that. It's all very exciting to see what direction they go with everything. In addition to that, they said that Sergeant Rock is going to be directed by Luca Guadagnino. Man, I should have studied this beforehand, right? Luca is going to be directing a Sergeant Rock movie. It just potentially lost its lead in Daniel Craig. He was rumored to take on the role of Sergeant Rock. Now we have to see who's going to be in the runnings to take on that role moving forward. But there's a lot of projects that are in production or on their way into production sooner than we think. And an animated movie titled Dynamic Duo is in pre-production. We know there's a Teen Titans movie on the way. Like James Gunn is putting in work. James Gunn is putting in work. Him and Adam Safran is putting that Warner Brothers lot to work. They didn't say anything else as far as what was going to be in production in this article, but just getting confirmation as to the current things that are in production. And this little line here, we are writer driven, We're not going to greenlight or put anything into production until we're happy with the script. It's hard enough making a good movie with a good script. It's almost impossible to make a movie with a script that you're writing on the run. This is probably one of the best lines in this article to me. And it almost kind of feels like a jab at Marvel, because everyone knows that, and James Gunn knows, as someone who was in that machine for a while, that Marvel has an approach where they'll give a loose outline to a movie or maybe a full script, but they go into their productions with the expectation of reshoots, which are already planned in advance, as well as having a writer on set rewriting scenes and moments almost entirely, or just dropping things and adding things in the midst of production. Scenes might get written on the day of. Scenes that weren't in the script before might be part of the script now. It's in James Gunn, if I remember correctly, when he finished Guardians of the Galaxy 3, he boasted about how his film had 0 reshoots. Looking back with this kind of comment, it almost also feels like a little bit of a jab. So we know that this movie is coming. We know that Luca is going to be involved. He's recently even been filmed or photographed with this photo of him here at the DC studios in a DC studio shirt. You can see he put the sweatshirt over whatever button-up shirt, collared shirt he has on underneath, but he is letting everyone know, and it's being publicized now, that he is with DC Studios. So I'm curious what everyone is excited for, right? Like, are there any Superman, DC Studios, Peacemakers, Batman projects that you guys are excited for? Did any of these surprises with like Supergirl, Clayface, or any of these other projects, Dynamic Duo, get announced and catch you by surprise? I'm curious what you all think about that exciting news in the world of DC. Who else do we have in here? Tom King is a GOAT. Jay Kelly. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's proven himself very quickly. He's got some stumbles. Heroes in Crisis. Batman everything. City of Bane. Everything with when I say everything, I mean everything with Thomas Wayne Batman. This man is a GOAT. He moved himself to GOAT status. What else we got up in here? Your Ravenclaw, not even a hard decision. Your Ravenclaw all over. I don't know. I didn't click the link, so I don't know what house I really am. Is Deadpool dead now? No, not even close to dead. Billions of dollars on the table. Nope. Paradise Lost. So yes, Paradise Lost is the name of the project. Yo, good to see you live. Look, good to see you live too. Appreciate you coming through, TJ. Thank you. Happy Monday. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to circle back to this. I'm going to move on to the next piece of news that I have for us today. This is just little fun stuff. Sometimes I'm scrolling through my timeline and I'm like, this is wild. I got to show someone this weird stuff. And I only have like a list of like you, E-Man, you, and 4 other people maybe 2 other people who really care about my movie stuff. So definitely you guys, I wanted to share with you. This is just a nice little thing I saw of, let me bring up the banner. Law and Order. So Law and Order, definitely a show you've never seen me talk about, but if you're a fan of Law and Order, then you know that there's been a long list of celebrity names that have guest starred on Law and Order and over the years. Now, I saw this thing online where they actually made like a clip just stringing together all the big name actors that we've known, but probably had no idea they were a part of Law and Order. So I wanted to show you guys this clip real quick because I just loved Law and Order growing up, especially Criminal Intent. That was probably my favorite one, with SVU being a tight second. But yeah, let me know what you guys think it is.
In the television industry.
Just a little thing I like. I know. It's wild, right? The amount of actors and names that have passed through the world of Law and Order. Like they said, it really is like a rite of passage for them. This and being in a Scorsese or a Spielberg movie or a Marvel movie. That's how you know you've moved on to the next level. But it starts here. Everybody starts here, even a young Timothy Chalamet. Speaking of Timothy, there was this clip that came out. Timothy just won an award, I guess, at the Screen Actors Guild. And he won for the movie, the Bob Dylan movie he did. And I feel like in this moment, when Timothy Chalamet came out on stage, he had his Kobe Bryant moment. My man came out and was sitting here talking about how, he wants to be the GOAT. He's here to be the greatest. And I love this energy. I love this energy so much. Let me play the clip for y'all.
I know we're in a subjective business, but the truth is, I'm really in pursuit of greatness. I know people don't usually talk like that, but I want to be one of the greats. I'm inspired by the greats. I'm inspired by the greats here tonight. I'm as inspired by Daniel Day-Lewis, Marlon Brando, and Viola Davis as I am by Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps, and I want to be up there. So I'm deeply grateful to that. This doesn't signify that, but it's a little more fuel. It's a little more ammo to keep going. Thank you so much. I know we're in a subjective business.
My man had a Kobe Bryant moment. So how many of y'all caught that little backhanded statement about the SAG award at the end, right? He's like, yeah, I want to be the greatest. And this award doesn't signify that. Mind you, he got Best Actor as voted by his peers. Like, you have to be a member of SAG to vote in this award show. So his peers, a bunch of other actors, looked at and around the room and was like, you know what? I got to give it up to Timothy. He's been out here doing his thing. He did that movie, that little movie he done did. It was pretty dang on good. He did his thing out there in that movie. And he's sitting here saying, this doesn't signify that I'm the greatest, but I'm chasing greatness. And I'm like, wow, that could have used some clearing up. But yeah, that I felt like that was like his little Kobe moment. He was just like Michael Jordan's not still alive. Like Leonardo DiCaprio's not probably in the room. Like, I'm just chasing greatness, and this ain't it. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Dragnet. It's neighbors that launch massive stars. Oh yeah. So I couldn't name Australian stars. I'm sorry. Russell Crowe. I know Russell Crowe. You know what's interesting that I did learn though? In dang near every other country except the US, actors are also like musical performers. Like, some of them will sing, some of them dance, some of them play in a band. And it's rare to see actors from the US who are multi-talented like that, or at least pursue it professionally. Like, it took me a while, but then I think one day, like after Gladiator came out, I was on YouTube and I came across a Russell Crowe music video. And my man was singing. Like, like he was hitting the notes. Russell. I had no idea. But yeah, Australia just feels like every other country besides the US. You guys have multi-talented performers, which is, or at least they pursue multiple talents at the same time. Not to say that they don't have these talents, but they're not up here acting and putting out music. Not even Drake chose the lane. Oh, I forgot. I did put a goal up. Let me y'all know. Hey, I want to let y'all know. Thank you so much, Gothic Chick. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I forgot I did put up a goal today, mainly because I just needed some motivation to finish this next video. So I have one video up available that I didn't share with the world. I only shared it with the Patreon members about my theory on Martin's true identity. Now, I thought about sharing it, but the editing's not done. But I was like, you know what? I've been holding on to it for a while. I've had it for like 2 weeks, maybe 3 now, and I haven't started the editing yet. I should probably get to that, and I could use some motivation. How about I offer to share the version that I have now, and that'll motivate me to do the full version, because the final, I need to fix it, but I need some motivation. So I did put together a little goal here on the live stream. If you guys feel motivated to, feel free, please go ahead. If not, I'm going to work on it and get it out there for you all anyway. But yeah, we're gonna, I do have a goal out there. So let me put this up there for you guys in case you want to participate. What else are you all saying? SVU is a comfort show, which is wild considering the content of each episode. That and Cops and the first 48. And for some reason, yes, it's wild considering the content. But SVU is like one of those shows where I could walk away and come back at any different time and still just get into it. Thankfully, they have those consistent characters. We got Ice-T still in it. Mariska is still in it. I would love for Stabler to come back, but I don't know, for whatever reason, they just didn't make him a regular character anymore on this show. But yeah, SVU is that guilty pleasure comfort thing that you can always put on. That and like Star Trek. Markeisha, yeah, it's one of my favorite shows too. I still love it. I'm not going to talk about it on this live stream like that, but I still love it. I put it on in the back. What I will talk about is what TJ's talking about with Severance. Severance right now, like, listen. So here's the thing. I have a surface level understanding of Severance. I went as far as I could, but I need your help. So we're going to talk about Severance. We're going to get into that as far as all the different hitting symbols and visual things that I might be missing that you guys definitely caught on. Let me power through some more movie news real quick, and then we'll get to it. The next piece of news is, and I'm going to make this quick. It feels like we're finally getting to the point. We're finally getting to the point where Marvel is finally getting ready to introduce the X-Men into their universe. I got to tell you right now, man, this is taking a while, right? Like, Disney started buying Fox in 2017. That was 8 years ago. They finished the buyout in 2019. That was 6 years ago. And they're just now starting to prioritize making an X-Men movie. And hear me when I say, I don't have the confidence from Marvel to put out an X-Men movie yet. Mainly because, you know, Marvel's just been showing how willing they are to change things that we know about the X-Men. The first introduction of mutants was Namor and Miss Marvel, and then Wolverine is here, but he's a variant from another universe. Then we've got some other mutants that showed up in the Marvels, and it's like, it's almost like they're giving us things just to quiet us up. Kind of like when they gave us Mr. Fantastic and Multiverse of Madness with John Krasinski. Like, it was just like they had no intention of really following through on that, but they wanted to say they did it, right? They wanted to say we actually showed you some X-Men. We actually showed you the Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. We showed you these things, so be quiet for a while so we could work on it. The fact that we're getting a Fantastic Four movie before the X-Men is surprising, but I'm going off on a tangent, but we are finally getting the X-Men. But they're just willing to change so much. We're now seeing, and spoiler alert for Captain America people, but this is even in the commercials, but Adamantium came from the Celestial, from the Eternals that emerged, Tiamat or something. Like, he emerged at the end of the Celestials, his hand and his head, and that's where adamantium is from. It's not a man-made substance anymore. It's now celestial metal, which is a big change to me. It's a big change to me, especially because it's implying that mutants have not yet been discovered in the MCU.
I can do one thing right.
As of right now, they have not yet been discovered. So I'm a little bit nervous about. All right, close that ad. I'm a little bit nervous about that because it feels like they're gonna be starting the X-Men from now, which is gonna be a little bit. I have to see the X-Men do things that I want to see them do. The X-Men fighting Apocalypse, the X-Men fighting Mr. Sinister, all of that stuff is cool. But the X-Men aren't the Avengers, right? The X-Men are a team that literally fight and were created for the purpose of fighting for civil rights, right? They're the X-Men were supposed to be the representative of the Jewish community. The X-Men are supposed to be representative of the Black community. They're supposed to be the representatives of the Native American community. It's supposed to be the representatives of these groups that have been marginalized. So all those people that fall under, I don't know, let me not say anything political, but all those groups that are not the Avengers or don't have the blonde hair, blue eye type of appearance or representation that Captain America gives. It's supposed to be those other people that also do good that we don't really appreciate. So I want to see the team rooted in civil rights. Personally, like that's what makes them different from the Avengers. Otherwise, they'd just be another Avengers team, right? They would just be the Avengers that are mutants. They just fight normal bad guys that are threatening to destroy the world. But I want to see them ingrained in the civil rights, and to have them ingrained in the civil rights in contemporary times would be a choice. Right. I can only imagine if Professor X was a young guy and the X-Men just came out today, and then Charles Xavier sitting there having a speech in today's climate, in today's social economical status, starting from the beginning, like, hey, I think we deserve equal rights and we should be able to play on any team that we want, and that we should even appear in movies kissing each other like that. That would be, I don't know how that would go. It would be a choice. Certain characters are tied to their specific period in time. Magneto is supposed to be a Holocaust survivor, but it goes back to what we've seen so far, which is Marvel is willing to change things. I haven't seen all of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but I did see the first episode because they put the first episode for free on YouTube. And they changed his origin like a lot. Like, and some of it is the same, some of it is very, very, very different. So Marvel is willing to change things up whenever they want. So I'm a little nervous because I know what I want to see from the X-Men, and I'm a little nervous that maybe I'm going to get something else. But anyway, yes, an X-Men movie is confirmed to be in the works. Brad Winderbaum, who is basically the Kevin Feige of Marvel Television, confirmed it. Screen Rant interviewed him, and they asked him point blank, there's a report that went out recently that Academy X would be something in the works. What can you say about Marvel's live action plans for mutants on the television front? And Brad Winderbaum, who again is the Kevin Feige of television, he is the authority. He's probably number 2 in the hierarchy of Marvel. It's probably Kevin Feige, Brad Winderbaum, everybody else. And Brad said, I think anybody can say anything online and it hits the rumor mill and people get excited. Right now, we're still working on X-Men 97 season 2. It's coming together amazingly, and the scripts for season 3 are insane. That is certainly scratching the X-Men itch for me on television. And there's an X-Men feature in development right now. So that is the focus of the X-Men currently. He just threw that in as an aside. Like, oh yeah, my job is the TV stuff, which I got the cartoons coming. We saw how the cartoons were well received. So I got more of that coming. But yeah, there's a movie too. They just threw that out there. And I thought that was a really cool confirmation. There's no others authoritative voice outside of Kevin Feige that I would take this from. And run with it, but he is that dude. He is that guy within Marvel. He said it. It's official. Where's the Severance deep dives? We're 27 minutes in. Are we? Dang. I didn't realize we were that far, and we're ready to get into it. What is this? Russell Crowe has a band called 30 Odd Foot of Grunts. I did not know that, but I did see this.
feel good, don't it?
Thank you so much, Markeisha. Look, let's get into it, right? It seems like the movie news is cool, right? I was almost done. I was almost done. We got Dave Bautista, wanted to do Gears of War, and then was there anything else? No, that was it. Dave Bautista was going to do Gears of War. So I might power through this real quick, really quick, and then we're going to get into Severance. So Dave Bautista has been asking for this movie, Gears of War, for a while. He's in the process of promoting this new movie he's doing that he stars with alongside Mila Jovovich, directed by director Paul W.S. Anderson, who's known for directing the original Mortal Kombat movie as well as all the Resident Evil films. He's got this new movie coming out. He was interviewed recently about his interest in still doing a Gears of War movie. Where's it at? Oh, he's calling for fans, us, to start a thing online about Gears of War. Start an online thing about freaking Gears of War. Come on, Netflix. Come on already. He said he's been bugging Netflix as well, saying it's not like I'm not badgering them. Come on, get it together. And I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I was like, well, what's the big deal? Why are you so hyped? And then I had to go back and look on my own website because this is where I actually reported the news. And it looks like I wrote about the announcement of a Gears of War movie going back as far as 2 years ago. Yikes. So I wrote about this article. I even made a video about it, but it was announced in 2022. So we're going on year 3 that it was announced. It's not yet into production. Superman's finished, but this movie is still being discussed. And I'm like, man, when we talked about it in 2022. Then I looked back on my site some more. We saw an update about it in 2023. He's talked about how it's something that he's sought after for years. And he really felt like he could bring a lot to the heart a lot of heart to Marcus Phoenix, who's the main character in Gears of War. I really would. I think I would do that part justice. I feel confident in it. So hopefully it'll come my way and we'll be having this conversation in a different way sometime. So it's 3 years later. He's still talking about this project. This project is still in the works. I'm a huge fan of Gears of War. I saw the video games back when I was an Xbox 360 player waiting for Halo 3. And I fell in love with them. I really fell in love with the whole chainsaw rifle combo thing. And that was really cool. So yeah, I'm excited for him. I think he would definitely own that role. He absolutely looks like Marcus Phoenix, but the biggest issue that Netflix is fighting against right now is for him to age out of the role. Right. Batista is not a spring chicken. So if he's going to be doing something that's physically demanding like that, it's better if they do it sooner rather than later. But yeah, let's get into, I guess, Severance. So I have some questions for all of you all too. I definitely want your help with Severance. So I want to talk about Severance. I want to talk about Paradise in that order. But I definitely have some questions. So episode 5, right? Where we left off with episode 5. I wish I could talk about this from a different perspective, but I'm still trying to absorb everything that's happening. Any Mark in any heli had that incident at the camping trip, right? And well, man, there's so much that happened. So where do I begin? Let me just start with this current episode, right? Instead of just going back into the last episode, right? We understand what happened in it. Any Mark and any heli are reconciling with everything that happened over the last couple of episodes when Helena was sitting around masquerading as Heli throughout the show. Oh, let me can I bring let me not get the stream taken down again. So let me do this. I wanted to show clips, but we know what happens when I show clips. Here we go. I can show images. So there's so much I need help with. So any market, any heli, right? They're getting this big reality check, right? They find out that there's a secret elevator beneath the severed floor because, of course, there's another floor. And Lumen is like one of them horror movie houses, right? You just keep finding new basements. And Dylan learned this and shared it with the team after he learned it from Any Irving, who I call Any Irving. Like, first off, let me establish some rules. Any innies, I'm going to call them any name. That's their prefix. Any outies, name outie. This is my way of keeping these characters straight. So it's going to be any Mark and Mark outie, Dylan outie, any Irving, any outie. If you guys have better suggestions or if there's already better names out there for these characters, let me know. But this is what I've been running with. So Dylan learned from Any Irving that there's another floor, which is incredible with the way that they were able to figure out how he can bring a message from the outside back inside. Until Any Irving got booted. Now Any Irving is gone now, right? He's kind of, it's the end of Any Irving because he's fired. So it seems like that character is just done. But Dylan finds the map, or what kind of seems like a map, just a drawing of the secret dark hallway. But he's trying to keep it secret because he's not trying to get in trouble. He's trying not to get in trouble right now because he's trying to keep secret the fact that he's having an affair with Outie Dylan's wife. This is wild. So I love the whole dynamic that happened in this whole setup. Now, for those of you who have been keeping up with what I've been saying about Severance throughout the season 1, it was a slow build. It took so much for us to get an understanding of the characters and in order to appreciate when these little subtle moments would happen to have this big impact. I do still think season 1 could have been edited to be paced a little bit faster, but season 2 takes what season 1 has done and has been running with it. I love everything with the development of Dylan. I love this whole dynamic he's having with his Audie's wife. I like how we see him here coveting it, protecting it, keeping it a secret from Helly and Mark, because he was told straight up not to tell them about it. Otherwise, these type of events would stop. He wouldn't be able to have visits from the his Audie's wife. Now, one thing that I've been wrestling with, and me and my wife can't seem to agree, and I'm curious what you all think is Dylan's wife having an affair? Right? Because we see that she's coming into the Severance floor. She's meeting with Dylan, or Dylan's Any, and things got hot and heated in this episode. Things really went up a notch when they had some time alone. But I'm curious what everyone thinks as far as the ethical things that the show is raising, as far as, is she cheating on him? And this is where the writing is really good, but also really, really dense. So we have Dylan and his wife having these moments on the Severance floor, and she's just hearing how Dylan's Any really appreciates things so much more than Dylan's Outie has been expressing over, at least recently. She starts to warm up to him. He's always warmed up to her, and it's interesting about how he has this instant love for her, and it's hard to understand as to whether that's because there's some underlying feelings, because in essence he's the same person that fell in love with her in the first place, or if he's falling in love with her just because He was told he loves her. And because he was told he loves her, he starts coveting those things. He starts protecting her. He wants to know about his son. But she has no excuse. Is Dylan's wife having an affair? I'm curious what you all think about that. That's one of the things that's been bugging me about this show. I'm also very, very, very invested into, what's going on with Mark and Helly. Now I binged a couple of these episodes, so I'm going to probably talk about a couple episodes in the same breath, but everything that happened with Helly and Mark, whether it was on the camping trip, what happened after, or when Mark was at the eating Chinese food, has been a very interesting character study into Helena, actually. She is low key a main character, I won't say she's the main character because obviously that's Mark Scout, but she is gunning for like main character status. We meet up with her on her first day of Severance. We don't meet up with Mark on his first day of Severance, and we follow a lot of what Helly has been doing as her innie has become aware of life and getting acclimated to being a Severance employee. A Lumen employee. Watching how Helena masquerades as Helly is a really cool, subtle character study into her actual dynamics with her family outside of the Severance floor when she's revealed to be an Egan and she's got all this authority and power within the Severance floor, to her fascination to the romance that her innie has developed for Mark. And then it seems like she's developed a thing for Mark too. And I love how it mirrors a little bit of what's happening with Dylan and with Irving to a degree. Now, with Dylan, again, he was told that he has a wife and that he loves his wife. So when he actually met his wife, he was like, oh, he just started having similar feelings and similar urges to be with her. Helena, now on the outside, is showing that when she saw her innie kiss Mark, that she took advantage of the opportunity to do romantic things with Mark too. She didn't have to. She could have not done it, but she did. Was that her mirroring what's happening with Dylan, and that, I guess my innie likes you, so I guess I have to like you too? Or was it her being a little bit rebellious to being completely under control within the Lumen family? I don't know if she's just strictly doing it for the betterment of the Lumen company. She was just like, you know what, I gotta do this stuff with this dude as part of the deal. I gotta do it. Or if she was like, you know what, I don't have to do it, but my life is so controlled. Everything is under such a tight leash. This is one of the things that I can take for myself and get away with it. So I love the dynamic that's happening between Helly and Mark and Helena with this little throuple. I'm curious how things are going to end up once Mark's outie becomes a lot more aware of what his relationship is with both Helly and Helena. Because right now, all of that is definitely confined to Mark's innie. He's the only one that's like, I've got relationships with both iterations of this woman. Mark's outie was told that he found love, but I don't think he really gave it enough thought to see who or what was going on with his innie to really explore it. Ever since he found out that his wife was actually alive, my guy has just been on a mission. He's been on a nonstop mission. So I'm really curious about what's going on there. And I love that character study that we're having with Helly, in that we see her in this episode learn what Helena did. She found out about it. She feels violated. She starts making clear lines in the sand as far as who she is as a person and who Helena is as a person. And one of the things that I caught in this episode that I don't know if everyone catches is she talks about how it's her body. She speaks as if she has full ownership of her body and this other person is stealing it from her or borrowing it. She dresses me. She chooses what we eat. I can't believe she did that to you with my body. She's taking ownership of her being. And it's interesting because it raises this ethical question as to whether or not, if you have multiple personalities, do each of those personalities have a right to live? It's multiple people in one body. So what are we doing here? I love the density of some of the questions being asked because they're super intellectual, and if you're not really honed in, they could go over your head. You know, you might just sit here and just watch this for the office comedy aspects of it. But Severance is really, really touching on questions of, yeah, I see you there, Gabriella. Maybe love transcends severance. It's really questioning and bringing into discussion as to the themes of love, social boundaries, and human rights. But then there's also all the mystery in it with that really, I think, ties it all together, which is, what the F are these guys doing? What are they doing when they are putting these numbers in boxes? What is going on the rest of the floor? Why are there goats? And where is Gemma? I actually did sit down and read that Lumen letter you guys recommended to me. What was it called? The Lexington letter. So I actually did read it. At first, I was like, man, this is long. Do I really want to read this? And then I was like, you know what? Let me give it some time. And I read it. And I love how it gives additional, it fills in some of the world of Severance without being required reading. You could definitely still watch the main show without having to read that. But it does make me wonder if that is the part of the story that's filling in some of these blanks. Is this show going to answer some of these questions? One of the main things I kept trying to figure out is, when does this show take place? When does it take place? Just when? When we look at, I think one of the clues we had was Mark's license or his ID. Did you guys ever see that? Yeah, I don't know if you guys are already into the discords of this. I'm just now learning or diving myself into this world, so I'm a little bit late. But did anybody really like look at Mark's license? This was a whole thing on in the Reddit forums that I saw. So when I went online and I looked this up, let me I'd feel some type of way if I found out he was sleeping. Yeah, right? Or what, better yet, would you feel some type of way because your wife was sleeping with your innie? Right? Is it that are you going to be mad at your innie for finding your wife attractive, same way you did? Or are you going to be mad at your wife because she's aware? She knows that's not the same you, and she did it anyway. So I'm curious about that. They're easily persuaded because they are childlike. Yes, which is an interesting dilemma, because they are very much childlike, but they are adults. So they have a lot of instincts that should help them with rational thinking, but we do see them be very impulsive when they want to be. So Mark's ID here, we actually got to see a little bit of his driver's license, and Reddit 25 days ago said that it is a New York license. I didn't catch what state it was from. But when you look at it, you can see the date that it's possibly issued and the date that it's going to expire. Now, I couldn't tell if this was the date of issue or if this was Mark's birthday, but that is definitely the expiration date. So we see Severance often uses older technology, tube television, some of them like that weird little intercom system they use with the board. Everything looks like it's something out of the 60s, 70s, maybe even the 80s, right down to Milchick's haircut and facial hair. Everything has this older look to it. But then all of that goes out of the window when we see little things like Helena whip out an iPhone. And I'm like, what? When you see them all drive these cars, but then Helena has a touchscreen phone, it's like, what's actually happening here? Now, let me, in case you guys missed it, this was one of the things that happened in one of the most recent episodes. She whipped out her smartphone. Color, touchscreen, fancy, but definitely giving us clear evidence that there is technology that exists beyond the 70s and 80s available to them. They just are happening to use older technology, older things. So what exactly is happening? Now, I have my theories as to what is happening. I'm a little bit I'm still trying to figure out what I want to share because I don't know what's already out there. I don't want to sit here and start rattling off the brain and then you guys are like, oh, you stole that. And I just don't know. I've seen like some surface level stuff, but I haven't really listened to enough theories, podcasts, deep dive videos to really get a sense of where the community is today before I just start throwing stuff out there. But I am going to say some stuff anyway, and then you guys can just kind of let me know if these theories already pre-exist. But let's go there. What are you saying, Gabrielle? Yeah, them questions about your innie and your outie, right? I'd write my innie a letter and tell him to leave my girl alone, please. Yo, you can't send them no notes. You know, dang on well, you can't send no notes down that elevator. But I feel you. Like, for us, for our sake, for me to keep this going, can you stay in your lane, please? I haven't read the Rickon book yet, but the Lexington letter was amazing. There's another book. What the heck is the Rickon book? There's another book. The UUR. This is a real book. Stop it. Stop it. This is a real book. All right. 39 pages. No promises there. No promises there. But I thank you for putting this on my radar. I didn't even know this book was real. But I love the synergy between Apple and their promotion team to actually get this out on Apple Books the way they did. You could do a whole deep dive on when it takes place. I have my theories on when it takes place. Leave my girl alone, please. I wouldn't blame my innie because we have the same taste. Of course we do. We're each other. I would blame a partner for stepping outside of our boundaries, though. Yes, I feel you on that. That's like my wife sleeping with my twin brother. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Even if I'm gone, don't do that. Severance goes all out. It does. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about this episode because there's a couple other things that was really interesting to me. So everything that's happening with Dylan, everything that's happening with Helly and Mark is also really cool because we're looking into those emotional, ethical questions. But I'm also really intrigued by everything that is happening with Milchick and Miss Huang. Because Milchick versus, first off, yo, Miss Huang had me last episode when she was talking smack to Milchick. She was like, "Isn't your performance review coming up?" And he was like, "Yes, it is. Thank you for reminding me." And he was all like, "Yes, I'm going to go into this, and I'm pretty confident." Like the way he handled that, like I might have to do myself a Milchick mustache because apparently I've got the voice. But yo, the way she started pressing buttons, all his buttons in that moment. I learned so much about how they're so antagonistic towards one another, but I didn't really see it before. Um, she's supposed to be Wintershire material. It seems like she's in some sort of internship where she's trying to learn to climb the ranks within possibly Lumen. That's why there's a child there, but the way that they have to be promoted seems like it's very confrontational with each other. They're always made to compete with their coworkers, which again is a double speak or double entendre as to what happens in real office scenarios where people feel like that they have to compete with their peers in order to grow. You have to step on people. You have to be mean to people. You have to find ways to make them seem inferior to you, right? You don't actually learn or gain or do anything special. You just make the other person look so bad and make it seem like you're the only alternative. Um, it's wild how that happens in a lot of corporate environments. It's wild how it happens in the real world and politics and all this other stuff. Wintertide. What did I say? Wintershire? Wintertide. Um, it's interesting how they highlight that here. Um, I like the banter. I like the double speak. I like how they say mean or do things that are mean in spirit, but sound nice or try to cover it up in niceness. It's like, covering flower petals over a turd. It's like you're saying something really foul, but you're just dressing it up real nice. Um, I love that aspect of it. And Miss Huang is low key becoming one of my favorite characters up there with Milchick. Um, my only problem with Milchick is that I want to see him show more range. I don't want to only see him show the subtleties of his rage. I want to see more of those moments like we saw with him talking to Mark in the elevator. Did you tell her what you did in that tent? Like I want to see that anger and that ferocity come out. Maybe I just got to watch some of this actor's other films and other bodies of work to really get a sense of what he can do. But now I am invested enough in what's his name, Travis Trimmel, Travis something Trimmel. Um, what's his name? Let me see. Tremel Tillman. Excuse me. I'm butchering the brother's name. Tremel Tillman. I am invested enough in him to see what all he can do, especially now that he's being rumored to show up in the MCU to play Kang. I have a I so I saw this question brought up earlier in the live stream. What are my thoughts on him playing Kang? So I have two feelings about it. I would love it if he was going to play Kang for a long-term thing. If they're going to bring in Tremel Tillman, he as good as an actor as he is, if you're not going to use him to like recast an existing character, like Don Cheadle's almost 70 or something, like he could definitely hop in and be recast as Rhodey. But if you're not going to recast him in one of those roles, I would be disappointed if he was brought in for like a single appearance. Like if you're going to bring him in just to play Kang, just to be murked by another character, that would be disappointing. If he doesn't appear in the entire movie, that would be a disappointing. Um, I also don't like when actors are black actors are brought in the project just to be murked quickly. That was probably the one thing I forgot to bring up in my review for The Gorge. The Gorge had this one character, a black dude that appeared early in the movie. He was supposed to be a character that was just as good as Miles Teller's character as far as skill and capabilities. But he died inconsiderably. And also, I'm pretty sure he was like the only black guy in the movie. Like, I don't even remember any other goons or background characters being black. So I just don't like that trope that happens in films when black men or women are brought in just to be murked and that be their only appearance. But again, back to my other point, I don't think Trammell should be relegated to just a one appearance type of character. I think if you're going to bring in somebody like him, as popular as him, and you're not going to cast him as Jon Stewart, then he should play somebody who's going to have some longevity in the role that they're given. He's very popular. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a lot that he can potentially bring to the table. So I definitely would love to see him around for a while. Let me see what you got. The book. Yeah, the UUR. Okay, yeah. I'm looking into Ricken's book. I got it open. That's wild that they actually made that. Ricken describes a fight he has with Mark, I hear. Oh, like a physical fight? There ain't no physical fights in this show. Closest thing we got to a physical fight in this show was that lady taking a bat to that security dude's head. Sleeping with the twin. What in the Melrose Place? Yeah. Don't act like it ain't possible, because it seemed like it's about to go down. I want to know why they helped each other. I feel like she may be Gemma's clone, and that freaks Milchick out. So I have a theory about clones as well, but let me save my theory for the end a little bit. Milchick can't show that rage because he's in a corporate environment. Trust me, the first time you show anger as a black person in corporate, you're the enemy. Yes, I know. Yes. So, and for anybody who's black and in corporate, do yourself a favor and adopt a way to handle those moments. My biggest thing is that for me is I remember that I have a family outside of work that loves me. I have an Audi that isn't my innie. My innie might be going through some stuff, but I'm able to compartmentalize to my Audi and live my life. That's it in a nutshell. I try not to get as invested emotionally into that stuff and just compartmentalize it, put it in a box and put it away in the shelf, and then come home and let my Audi cook. And this is what I like about Severance, because it touches on how some of us do that in the corporate life, whether we're just black guys working in corporate structure, or we're just any race or any person, or just women working in corporate. I know women who work in corporate know what it is, but it's hard. It's hard. So I love how this show visualizes that barrier that people put in their work life versus their non-work life. I remember when I used to work at my old job, I was working 9 hours a day in a small office. It was a very small, it wasn't a big space at all. It was a small office, like 5 of us working at computers, and like it's not a circle facing each other, or even a circle like the Lumen desks, but we're not facing each other. But we're sitting in a small space, and we used to joke about how, doing 9 hours a day, right? You're awake 9 hours. You're commuting back and forth to work. Cut off an hour. That's 10 hours a day that you're not home. That's 14 hours a day you have left at home. 8 of those hours, hopefully, you're sleeping. So that means maybe 5-6 hours a day you spend with your family and handling any responsibilities you have outside of work. Maybe you got to go to the bank. Maybe you have kids. Maybe they have after school things. You have 6 hours a day to get that done. And I used to joke with my friends about how we literally spent more time with each other than with the families we were working so hard to support. We were working more than we were living. Severance. Oh man. No matter what his title is, Milchick isn't in charge. Those white people are, and the non-black folks are in position to support said white folks. But they're high-ranking black folks, which is interesting to me. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not in charge, but I was a little surprised to see he was an authoritative. He was put in a position of authority, and he's not at the bottom. He's not at the bottom. He's there are people beneath him, right? The security folks seem like they're beneath him. But yeah, I was surprised, and I'm glad to see him in this role because we get to see so much of him. Tramel's too good to be killed off as king. Yes. If you're gonna bring him in, give this man something to work with. Let him get a role that he can have for a little bit of time. One and done is not cool. Especially if it's like what the rumor people are saying, like he's going to die in the opening scene. Don't do that. Just leave King alone. Just leave King alone. We don't need you to bring in black actors just to kill them. I'm already have a thing about the way that T'Challa is being handled. I don't want to see no more black actors or characters be brought in just to die. But yeah, Milchick did a great thing in this episode, and he had a great performance. The whole thing with the paper clips, you guys saw that's. I'm curious what you all thought about not only the paper clips, but with him standing in the mirror and then trying not to use so many big words. Now, I know I'm guilty of it. Sometimes I'll just sit here and I'll say something that has 4 or 5 syllables. Sometimes I'll keep things nice and simple. I work on it because I know that sometimes I'll say a word or a phrase that's a little bit insurmountable for folks. And you'll see me pause and think about what I want to say before I say it, just because I'm trying to address that. So I'm curious what everyone thought about what that said about Milchick's character and his personality. On one hand, I was like, this is the most personality we've seen from this dude this entire series. This is the most range we've seen from Milchick as the crack started to form in his personality, now that he's put in this position where he's under so much scrutiny. And something that I also thought was interesting, and I saw on another YouTuber, I listened to one YouTuber's breakdown on this, and they pointed out how Ben Stiller said in an interview, or it might have been Tramel who said it in an interview, that Miss Huang was the one that's been whistleblowing on the way that he puts his paper clips. Like, she's been telling on him to the board. First off, how does she have access to the board outside of him? How does she know when his performance review is? How does she have so much animosity towards this man to sit here and play in his face about things that he has to do, like his performance review, while she's sitting and he has to put her in her place to remind her, look, you ain't going to get out of this Wintertide program, or you're not going to be Wintertide material until you stop doing childish things. Like, how did she get to this point? Again, she's becoming low-key one of my favorite characters in the show, mainly because she's got a slow burn reveal to her. I wonder if we're going to find out if she's an Egan by marriage or something in a later episode, or she's an Egan in training. But I'm very curious about her. And I wonder if she's severed. Now, there's so many different ways the show can go. She could be severed. She could be a clone. Then there's my other theory, and I know people is going to be calling me out on this one because I haven't done any fact checking, because it's just us, because we're just on a live stream and I'm not putting this out there like, my other videos. I'll share it with you guys. Yada fromly. I trust y'all. What if it's aliens? You know what I mean? Like, what if it's aliens? What if everybody in the Lumen company is like aliens? that would explain a little bit of why they're so detached from emotion, why they're studying these characters and they're trying to fish emotional responses from them. I'm sitting here thinking like, man, what if this is like some 3-body problem thing and they're being attacked by aliens that are trying to recreate Earth in a controlled environment, but it's not quite right. Like they've only got some of the stuff right, like 80s cars, but 2020s iPhones. Um, I know, Nisi. I know. Not from me, right? Me of all people sitting there like, what if it's aliens? But there's so many weird things that I'm trying to just put together. I'm trying to put together the license plates that the people drive with. They look like they've got the Egan's dude's head on the license plate. Let me see if I could pull it up real quick. Right, like that is an Egan's head on the license plate. So I'm like, they're trying to make it seem like this dude saved Earth. So maybe they're not on Earth. Maybe they're in Mars. Maybe they're on another planet. Maybe it feels like a colony of some kind. It doesn't seem like or some sort of enclosed space. I think it could be aliens because of how emotionally detached the board seems at times. I think it could be aliens that are like symbiotes in the Spider-Man stories in which they take control of host bodies. But there's something more to these characters that are in charge besides just being hungry for power and money, right? They've got all the power and money. This is beyond that. There's an ulterior motive. I started wondering if this was a post-apocalyptic show, if this is some sort of world or life after the end of the world, especially when we started seeing goats. Goats to me was like a clear sign that this is a world with limited resources. Goats, you know, you can use for so many different things. You can like chickens, so you can get eggs, you can eat chicken. Goats, you can get milk and you can get meat. It made me start to wonder if Lumen is providing food for the whole world because they've controlled the world's food supply. Maybe there's a goat floor where there's a bunch of goats. Maybe there's more rooms where they're farming other things. We don't know. And again, I'm very surface level doing these theories. These are not very well researched theories. These are just like me putting my feelers out for all these different ways that my mind is trying to fill in the blanks as to what's happening. I'm going to go back and do my own research. Probably by the end of season 2, I'll put out a concrete theory video as to what I think is actually happening. But these are all the things that are still on the table. It could be the end of the world, a post-apocalyptic thing. It could be them colonizing another planet. They could be on Mars. It could be a scene where it was the end of the world and people are reproducing via clones. Because we already have evidence of clones, right? Let's not forget throughout that whole camping trip, we met each and every one of their clones. We met Mark's clone, Irving's clone, Helly's clone, Dylan's clone. They was all present and accounted for. So it could be clones. Or it could be all of the above. The one thing that would really help us answer everything is if we can figure out what's happening in the rest of the building. What are the things that Irving's crush was working on? Christopher Walken's character. What's his character's name? Why can't I remember his character's name? Bert G. Whew. Let me see what you guys say about this. Sci-fi fantasy writer Tananarvdu said that the kill the black guy first was rooted in racism in the 1950s because if you can kill the black guy, then the viewer feels safe against the monster. Damn. Is that? I hope that's not still the case. I don't know what this one was referring to. Let me go back. Rick and Book has an audio version narrated by Rick and get out of here. They got the actor to read the book. Okay. You're making this a little bit easier to do. All right. Let me see, is the book free? Also available in the audio bookstore. Like, look, I'm already here, right? This is already open. This is already happening. An hour and 5 minutes. Okay.
Introduction.
It just came out.
A book begins.
Okay. Say less. Say less. This is happening. Okay. Now that you're telling me that there's an audio book, it's an hour long. I can listen to this on the train or something. We're in here. This is happening. And it just came out. See, that's why I appreciate y'all. I would have never known this existed. Capitalism sucks. Yeah, but it's not just capitalism. It's the social, psychological manipulation of people that is happening there. The need to provide puts us in a situation where we become antagonistic against each other. And that is encouraged by people who are results driven versus the consequences, regardless of the consequences, right? I don't care if we start having problems with each other if it means that we're going to work harder and give them faster results. Maybe I'm too traumatized from a career in corporate, but I've seen black bigwigs get brought down to size from lower ranked and even hourly folks. I've seen it happen so many times. Yes, it does happen, man. I've been talking about race way more than I thought I would when I started this live stream. Because I don't know if I'm always, I don't want to be viewed as someone who puts it as a goal to solve race issues. That it's something I hope happens, but I don't know if I'm the person to solve them. So I hate to put myself out there and be put on this platform and talk about things that I also may not be the best equipped to answer, but it feels like that it happens more often than not. So I'm doing my best to be more responsible and capable in what I say, because I've learned that this is something that just comes with having a platform of any size. So yeah, I'm very curious about everyone else's experiences. I'm really curious about what non-black people think of when black people have those moments. So like when you're bringing up these moments about when black bigwigs get brought down to size, what do non-black people who are in the room think? I'm curious if they've ever seen it happen. If any of you guys who are watching have ever seen it happen, and if you did, what was going through your mind? Milchick had to be the best and smartest person in the room just to luck up on a middle management position. Then he's expected to dim his light because his intelligence is seen as threatening. That's one way to look at it. That is one way to look at it. And I do understand that. Now, this is something that's been coming up in my racial conversations as well with friends, which is when black people get triggered. We get triggered. I was watching something about Robert F. Kennedy getting sworn in as the chief health person in the United States. And this congresswoman, a black woman, was grilling him on Capitol Hill or whatever before he got into the position. And he was quoted as saying black people should have taken either a different vaccine or waited in line in order to before getting the vaccine in the order that they got it. They should have got it later. And this congresswoman was like, well, what vaccine was I supposed to take? And when was I supposed to, something like that, right? What vaccine was I supposed to take then if I couldn't take the same one as you or something like that? And then he was like, well, science has shown, and scientists have released studies and written articles and all sorts of things about how Black people seem to show a higher resistance to the COVID vaccine than non-Black people. It's just scientifically proven. It's a thing that's been happening. And I remember back when COVID was coming out, you would see on Black Twitter all sorts of memes about how Black people wasn't getting it. And when she brought it up in this example of him saying it, it triggered her, even though a while back we were all tweeting about it. So it brings up a little bit of how we can be sensitive based off of our bad experiences. We've had some terrible experiences, so we're like, we're always on edge. But I think in actuality with Milchick in this circumstance, it was actually constructive criticism. The paperclip thing, that was a little bit much. However, the part where he was using too big of words, that is really a valid thing. Even like I said, even I work on making sure that I use words that are a little bit easier to process than the words that would organically come out of my mouth. I would just say all sorts of multi-syllable words if I just spoke freely. But that is not always the best way to communicate with large audiences. And it's definitely not the best way to communicate when you're managing teams. You want to keep things simple. You want to use small syllable words. You want to talk with your hand. I used to joke with my wife. It was the Trump way of speaking. Like Donald Trump is a master of simplifying words and phrases and distilling them down to topics and phrases that people can follow. Groceries, eggs. Like he's just so good at it. I wish I was as good as him at it, and I strive to be as good as him at it. And I think that Milchick would benefit from having smaller words as well. Not aliens. I know aliens. They do remind me of Scientology. I don't know enough about Scientology to comment on that one. If it's aliens, then it's just us from the near future, in my opinion. It's possible, yes. It's totally possible that it's just us in the near future with aliens, symbiotes, and it not being too far out. But it's also because technology just hasn't evolved further than that. His ID expired in 2020, but this show came out in 2021. So his ID shows that it expired the year before the show came out, which is wild. I'm still curious as to whether or not it was showing the date that it was issued versus his birthday, but we'll have to cross that bridge another time. Because we just don't know. We just don't know. What else happened in this episode? Ragabi is helping Mark with his reintegration. He's having all sorts of issues. His hand keeps trembling. He's getting nosebleeds. He's having little random moments where the memories are overlapping with each other, which I think is kind of cool to see him progress, because it's showing that the show is not going to just keep bringing us back to the office, which is great. I need to see progression. I understand that the office was the way to introduce us into this drama, but we're past that now. What else happened? Irving and Bert. Everything with Irving and Bert. So I was very fascinated by Bert in this episode, and I'm curious what you all thought of him as well. Oh man, I'm missing comments. Let me share this real quick. Switch that to my photo, my non-stream stopping photo, something that won't get me a copyright strike. Man, I can't believe I got a copyright strike. That was my first strike. Bert. So everything about Bert and his husband is interesting. He doesn't call his husband Hun. He calls his husband Attila. Instead of Attila to Hun, honey. He does things opposite. And I can't help but wonder about what is Bert's true Who is he? Like, we just thought he was just a Severed employee. He's working there for 12 years. He got retired. He got sent home. We met Innie Burt. Now we're meeting Outie Burt. But Outie Burt is giving us hints that he's somebody way more important and way more up the corporate ladder within Severance than we probably gave him credit for initially. Skylar, oh my goodness. Skylar, you funny. Anytime a couple asks you over for dinner, just know it's finna be some freaky shit, some form or another. Yes. So when Bert saw him in the car and still invited him over for dinner, I was like, he knew he was married. Like he knew, and Irvin still went. But Bert's house and everything that was going on was been very sus. And everything came to a head in those final moments where we see Attila is like, do you guys think you guys have had unprotected sex on the Severance floor? Because, you know, as your husband, it's my right to know if you're having unprotected sex. That's what he was saying. And he also brought up a story about how Bert had drinks with some guy 20 years ago and it happened before. Like, he was sitting there hinting like, hey, you fell in love with somebody 20 years ago and this has happened before. So if this is happening again, and I feel like I should know. And then Bert and Irving had to correct him like, nah, Severance started 12 years ago. What you mean 20 years ago? He was like, oh, yeah. Mm. And then he quieted him up. It immediately made me think, shit, Bert is in on it. Bert is a Egan. He is up there. He might have been the founding Egan and just changed his name or something. But Bert is one of those dudes, at least on the board, at the very least. As far until somebody proves me otherwise, I'm running with that as truth. Bert is on the board. But if he happened to have had this happen 20 years ago, then it must have happened with Attila, right? He must have been like where Helly is right now, in which he went into Severance in a previous, let's just say, round. You know, I don't know if there's really rounds going on here, kind of like from it's implying it with that 20-year comment. But let's just say in a previous iteration of Severance, he was where Helly was now 20 years ago. Younger man in Egan having to prove Severance or an Egan adjacent, having to prove Severance to a larger body of people, and he volunteers to participate himself. He goes down to a severed floor. He meets and falls in love with the guy. He's watching the tapes of himself falling in love with the guy in the real world, and he decides, you know what? I'm going to save you. You're going to come with me. I'm going to save you. Let me put my cape on. You coming out to the real world, boy. Bring your Innie outside. We outside now. And I'm wondering if what he experienced, what Helly experienced, are mirrors of each other. Helly is sitting there watching Mark fall in love with her Innie, and now she's falling in love with Mark. Bert might have fell in love with his husband and brought him home. Now they're seeing that the same thing is happening with Irving, and Attila is nervous, rightfully so. Like, yo, are you about to save him the way you saved me? That is the first thing that came to mind when I saw this whole scene come together. I sat there and I said, Bert and Attila are from a previous round of Severance. My man's been doing the Severance stuff for a long time. He might have even been one of the people who created the technology along with the doctor. But yeah, I have a feeling like my guy is from a previous round and he's slipping about things he's not supposed to be talking about. I think he's on the board. Yeah, I definitely think he's on the board at the very least. If he's not an Egan outright, I definitely think he's on the board. OMG, I never considered that. So Bert isn't actually severed. It's just a higher up mole going in there and having freak offs on the severed floor. No, I think he does have an Innie. I still think he might still have an Innie, but he's like Helly in that once he comes back from the severed floor. Well, yeah. Once he comes back from the severed floor, he's just watching the tapes of what he did all day. Or Bert is cheating with Innies even before Severance went public 12 years ago, but it's been going on secret long before that. And that's where we get into that whole thing as to whether or not they're aliens. That's why I was like, that's the part that made me think aliens, honestly, was the fact that he said 20 years ago instead of 12 years ago. I wonder if it's like they're in some confined space. Think of it like, I don't know. I can't help but think of like Brainiac from Superman and how he puts cities into jars and they stay and have like pieces of their society, but he controls it from the outside. Brainiac's a Superman villain. And I can't help but wonder if they, every few years, once this Severance experiment fails, they just Men in Black erase everybody's memory and they start over. Maybe that's where Gemma went. She went back to go back in the basement until they bring her back out for the next round. Maybe she's a clone. There's so many different directions it could go, but this was the thing. This was the moment that I started sitting here thinking this could be an aliens thing, because even Christopher Walken, you know, as whatever people say about whether you love or hate his type of performances, my man does Alien. Right? He's like emotionally attached, but emotionally detached at the same time. And we're seeing a lot of that come from everyone that's bored or bored adjacent. So I can't help but wonder if he is an Egan. There's a reason why he's behaving this way, why he has all these stilted conversations with people. He doesn't talk like everyone else. If he's part of the reason why people only know of Severance only happening on the severed floor when it's clearly happening outside to the super rich as well. There's so much going on there that I wonder what is happening behind the layers of Christopher Walken. Now, there was also something that people said that there's a lot of Easter eggs in his house. Now, I haven't studied the photos of his house super close. And I definitely can't bring up the footage. And let me see, did they give me a screenshot of his house? Sometimes they give me some of these nice high-res pictures of some of these moments. But I wanted to study his house and get a sense of what was going on in there. Did they give me a picture of the house? Let me see. It's Bert outside the house. And it's always night. Anybody else notice that? Like, is it always night? Like, it's almost always like we never see daytime scenes on this show. And I get it, they're on the severed, they're at work for the most part. But the other thing is that it's always winter. It's never not winter. It's never just, and maybe this is just all happening within a week and a half of time, but it's perpetually winter. Imagine now those employees are worried of what's happening with their bodies. Let's not forget what almost happened with Dylan when he went to the Diddy party at the end of season 1, right? Let's not forget Dylan ain't go to a Diddy party. They damn sure threw a freak off for him. I think Irving is Bert's past Lumen partner, but they were also spies for OpenEye to start a rebellion in Lumen. They had his memory right from the Audis. And nobody would ask questions. Nobody would ask questions. I think people would ask questions like, Irving, you're not showing up for your job at OpenEye, but maybe this is all happening over a period of weeks. Yeah, okay. I mean, I got to look back. I got to see how many times we saw moments of the show that took place when the sun was up. I didn't talk too much about Ragabi. I did talk about how Bert is sus. Power struggles are getting wild between Milchick and Miss. Because remember, there hasn't been a 6-month time jump. That's just a lie Lumen told them. Yeah. They do. Well, there has to have been some sort of time jump because I didn't think about the 6-month time jump. I'm gonna have to go back to that. You stumped me there, Skylar. I respect that. I think it's all fake snow made of salt, hence why there was a place called Salt's Neck. It's one giant fake town. Ooh, that is a good one. Salt's Neck, but Mark's got a New York State ID. The Truman Lumen Show. I like that. Mark is breaking his brain. Everything could go bad. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. We talked about Mark finding out his wife is alive and his life is spiraling fast. Ragabi is helping him reintegrate, but we don't know why Ragabi is doing this. I don't know if any of you know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I just was going through the episodes too fast. Why is Ragabi doing this? Like, we know that she was one of the doctors that helped invent Severance and that she no longer works for Lumen. But did we ever really figure out what her motive is? Like, why is she sitting here trying to reintegrate PD? Why is she trying to reintegrate Mark? And I forgot I met PD. Did I tell you guys? I met PD. I met Yul Vasquez, and I interviewed him at one point, and I didn't recognize him until after I was some point in season 2, and I was like, oh, that's the dude I interviewed. But yeah, the PD actor Yul Vasquez, I interviewed him. I have it up on the channel. But yeah, what is Ragabi's motive? What else is going on? Mark, Helena, that's a big HR problem. That's a big HR problem. They're gonna find out eventually. Yo, when I found out why they were so upset when Helena did what she did in the elevator and she almost murked herself, like when I found out who she was, the writing. Let me see what else was going on. Helly and Any Mark had their moment. Yo, she was so mad. Like, bro, how do you accidentally cheat on someone with their own evil twin? Like, how do you do that? He found a way. Ellie was looking like she found out Mark went through her phone while she was asleep. Dylan's outie wife, way too into Any Dylan. She out here treating Any Dylan like he's the upgraded version of her man. Let me see what else is going on. I think what's her name? Bert's co-worker is Ragabi's mom or grandma. She's trying to get her out. Bert's co-worker. Oh, maybe, right? Because Bert did go. She was really happy to see Irving when he came back, which was a little weird. Maybe. Because they are taking people's family members. So maybe I could see that. Felicia, yeah. Bert is sus though. I'm wondering if Felicia's in on it, just like Bert. I wonder if everybody that worked on Bert's floor, how many moles there were. Right? Is there a mole in every group? Was he the mole of that group, or is that like the board? Yeah. I think there's a possibility for Felicia to be on the board too. Mark out here doing DIY brain surgeries in his basement. No anesthesia, no doctor's license, just vibes. Ragabi, you cool. Go ahead, work on my brain. But yeah, this whole episode kind of was this whole season has been chaos. It's been leaps and bounds better than season 1. The emotional trauma, the corporate nonsense, all these love triangles. Severance is really out here making sure nobody's comfortable while watching this show. I'm curious as to what everybody's theories are. I'm going to start diving into theories in the next week or so. But let me know what you guys think. If you're still confused as hell like I am, I need help. We can all try to figure out this show together. I did want to talk about Paradise. And I'm going to make this quick because I feel like not enough people are watching Paradise. Now, Paradise has done a lot of great things over the last few episodes in that where are we at? They have successfully introduced a mystery style show that I really enjoy. But then they started putting little sprinkles of sci-fi in there, just little things that are a little bit of fiction in the science aspect of it all. And that's where things in this show have really picked up. Now, if you haven't already seen Paradise, it stars Sterling K. Brown, which is this man here. You may have know him from a lot of shows. He was in I know him from I remember him mainly from Black Panther, where he was Killmonger's dad. A lot of people know him from This Is Us. But he was also in American Fiction, the movie that Jeffrey Wright was nominated for Best Actor with. I think he does some of the voices or one of the voices in Invincible. Like Sterling K. Brown is like one of those actors that you've seen a lot. And he only seems to get better as a performer, which I really enjoy. He's one of those actors that, I always give him the litmus test. Can you make me laugh and can you make me cry? If you could do both, then you've got range. He's in the show as well as actor James Marsden. James is known for, well, most people know him from the X-Men movies. He played Cyclops in the X-Men movies. He was also in that reality show. It wasn't reality. It was like a hybrid reality where he was on a juror. He was a juror. He's also in the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. But what was that movie? He was the TV series. He was the juror. Jury Duty. That was the name of it, right? It was a show called Jury Duty, in which he played himself in it was such a funny, hilarious show where everyone was an actor except for one person, and he had no idea. But this show, Paradise, is a show, and I'll give you guys a quick little pitch deck of what it is. It's a show in which James Marsden portrays the President of the United States. Sterling K. Brown in this show portrays his Secret Service agent. So the presidents usually get to choose who they want in their personal detail. He's the guy that's in the tightest circle with the president. So he's like his number one Secret Service protection. And I'm trying not to say too much. Something happens in the show where the president is being strong-armed by business people. And in the first episode, we learn that something really, really bad happens. Something bad happens to the president. Something bad happens to a lot of things. Something really bad happens. And I'm trying so hard not to spoil any of the good stuff for anybody who's just now getting into it. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to put out my own little Paradise Challenge. Paradise Challenge is, I want you to go on to Hulu, find this show called Paradise. You have to spell out the whole word because for whatever reason, when you start pulling P-A-R-A-D, it doesn't come out. You're going to get Bachelor in Paradise. This show's not going to come up last. Spell out the whole word Paradise, and then you finally see this show with Sterling K. Brown and James Marsden come up. Watch the first episode. If you sit down, you watch the first episode, and you're not at all a little bit intrigued, fine, walk away. Could part ways as friends. But if you finish that first episode and you make it up to those last minutes and you're just a little bit curious as to what happens or what's going on or what's up with these people, you need to keep watching this whole series with us. I'm going to start watching Paradise. I'm definitely going to cover it when it comes to season 2. I'm talking like deep dives, weekly coverage. We going in. Season 1 is still ongoing. I think there's going to be 8 episodes total. 6 of them are out. We've got 2 more to go. I'm told episode 7 is insane. I didn't get the screeners because I didn't ask for them because I didn't know. I was going to like this show. But now that I'm in, I am in. And I think you would all love Paradise. It's got very smart writing. It's got the mystery aspect that we love. It's got that hint of sci-fi. No horror. This is definitely a drama. But it is one of the best shows out here right now. Let me see. What are you guys saying over here? Good point. But by the way, I think she flooded Mark's chip with liquid LSD, just throwing that wild guess. Yo, I don't know what she put in his brain. Sorry to run this back, but the journalist in me has to make sure to clarify this for future audience. Senator Angela Ellsberg grilled RFK over him saying we should not be giving black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you so much for that. In case anybody's watching this on the replay, that's what happened. You can find the clip. Angela also Brooks is up there grilling RFK. It's interesting, like they were going to do something to stop him from getting sworn in, but she did. Paradise is one of them. Yes, it is one of them. It is. So I couldn't decide if I wanted to do a separate live stream for Paradise or if I was just going to introduce it here and then start doing the show 50-50, half Severance, half Paradise. I haven't fully decided yet. Maybe I'll just do like little short 10-minute videos on each of them and then we'll talk about it on the live. Let's see how we feel. Let's see how it goes. I'm not given the episodes in advance, so I don't have the time to study them to do my deep dives like I would want to, but we'll see. The next show on my radar is actually from Apple, if any of you are curious. But anyway, Paradise. Watch this show. Let me know what you guys think after the first one. Interesting, I haven't watched. I wish I could put the trailer up, but I will get shut down and I cannot risk another copyright strike right now. But look, I'm going to put it in the chat for you. We're going to go to YouTube, go to Paradise Hulu trailer, because I want you to really give this show a shot. It's really good. I'm going to put the trailer in the chat. I want you all to take some time to check it out. If it's going to take like 2 minutes. I got to check out Paradise. They hyped it up a week or so ago on the Blurred showing. We missed you that day, Anthony. Yeah, I know. I was the one who asked them to talk about it, and then I missed it. And then this last week, I was like multitasking, but I'm back. I'm gonna have to watch. Yes. I need y'all to watch this show and let me know what y'all think. Sterling K. Brown is doing his thing. James Marsden is doing his thing. I'm really enjoying this. He's Angstrom Levy and Invincible. Thank you. I knew he was one of the characters. I didn't know which character he was. I feel like Sterling is the new Denzel. Like when Denzel passes the torch, he'll be passing it to Sterling. Sterling is up there. We need to see Sterling more. That's all. We just need to see him more. Jury Duty was genius. The Jury Duty was insane, especially when you watch like the making of Jury Duty when they're like setting up the rooms before he gets there. I was like, this is insane right here. Does Paradise get better after episode 3? Paradise. So the first episode and the way the first episode goes leaves you with a good hook. The way that the 4th and 5th episode start to lean more into the drama, like the danger of things, that's when you really start to appreciate the writing of Paradise. If you study not politics, if you're a political theorist or one of those people that likes to have those theories about what's going on, you'll like what episode 4 and 5 do. And then 6 is just like all gas, no brakes. we cooking now with grease. But yeah, what? Yes. Watch Paradise. It was MD 2020 Ragavi shot his brain. Half Severance, half Paradise would be dope. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I didn't take notes like I probably should have for Paradise this week. I took notes on Severance, but maybe next week and I'll cut out the movie news and we'll just dive straight into Severance and then Paradise in that order. Let me know what you guys think. I think that's everything I have for this week. Oh, there was one other thing for all of you who need to know, also know the other reason I'm happy to start covering Paradise. Yeah. 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 One season ain't enough. Look who all up in here. Look who all up in here. American Black Film Festival, Dion Cole, James Marsden, it's Terry Crews, Kristen Annie Bell, Michael B. Jordan. Look, the support is up. It is happening. People are aware of it. I think this is the one, y'all. I think this is the one. But yeah, let me know what you all think about what is happening with Paradise once you've had an opportunity to check out the show. Let me know what you guys think as far as your theories for Severance. I know everybody's not here right now to give me your Severance theories. There's a lot of stuff I just dropped on you guys. I have to do my research into the other groups, into the other creators to get a sense of where the community is as far as theory stuff. And then I also got to listen to this book, The You Are. Right, so this is gonna be fun with Severance. Will I be on the Saturday live stream? I should be. I'm still. They ain't kicked me out the group chat yet, so I expect to be. I was on last Saturdays. I was pretty quiet, but I'm definitely going to be on this Saturdays as well. Well, I'm expecting to be on this Saturdays as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Severance. Let me know what you guys think of Paradise. I'm super excited to talk about these two shows for the next couple of weeks. Until Foundation or something come back, or this Apple show that's coming out. I got it like a minute. So it is with Brian Tyree Henry and dang, I hate when I blank out on names. I'm juggling so many different names. It's this show here, Dope Thief. Now I definitely cannot play the trailer, but it's with Brian Tyree Henry and Wagner Moura. Wagner Moura was in the TV show Narcos that was on Netflix. He played Pablo Escobar. He was also in the movie Civil War with Kirsten Dunst and Haley Steinfeld. Really good show as one of the reporters. I'm a big fan of both of these actors, especially my man, both of them straight up. Like this dude doing the Pablo Escobar, we still use that meme, and Brian Tyree Henry for everything he's done. I'm a big fan of seeing them doing this cop show. It's called Dope Thief. It's coming out on Apple TV. They were kind enough to give me the series. I think that I'm going to cover it and share it with you guys throughout the weeks. Anyway, that's all I have for this one, I guess, guys. I guess I'm going to be out of here. Do me a favor. If you all see a secret elevator, mind your business. Mind your business. Don't go near that. Anyway, that's all I have for you. I'm going to check you all later. Until next week, everybody. No, till Saturday. Y'all be good. Peace.